It's still happy hour with John Gaskins. This round's on me.
We're all wondering, with North Dakota State no longer in the lead, who's going to rise up? South Dakota State's the favorite, but there's a heap of teams right there. And what about North Dakota? The Fighting Hawks made the playoffs last year. They were 8-6 under first-year head coach Eric Schmidt, and the pride of Mandan, North Dakota, joins us right now in, hopefully for you, your last chat of the day. You've warmed up. We're saving the best for last. How is it going?
It's going great, man. Our guys have had a great summer here. I think it's getting to the point now where, media days becomes kind of that point in the summer where now it's, that point where we can get rid of the shorts and the shirts and running and doing gassers and all that kind of stuff and bend and iron and get ready to put some helmets and shoulder pads on here again.
That was a good kind of cliche-packed answer. It was, but you sold it well. I mean, you second year at UND. I mean, this is a school where you played and won a national championship, and then you coached under the guy who coached you, right? This is all Dale Lennon. So I mean, I know it's been well over a year, but how does it still feel waking up, being the coach at UND?
Well, I mean, just an attitude of gratitude to be able to be in the seat. People ask me all the time, hey, 30 years ago, would you think that, hey, this is where you're going to be and where you wanted to be? And it's not something that you think about until the opportunity kind of presents itself. But it's just, something that I'm really, really grateful. Obviously, our job is to pour into the guys in between the white lines, and to do it when you were one of those guys in that uniform one time makes it extra special. So it's unbelievable. Every morning you wake up, man, I feel really, really, really special to be able to do it in Grand Forks.
Growing up in the 80s and 90s, and both, correct me if I'm wrong, NDSU and UND were kind of D2 powerhouses. Did you have a rooting interest?
I really didn't. I mean, at that time, we would get the UND NDSU game every year, and then you get the playoff games. Like those were the games. But just with how far along media's come, like back then, growing up in the state of North Dakota, you felt like UND NDSU was Auburn, Alabama, right? Because you didn't get all those games all the time. So I mean, well, obviously once things started to transpire in recruiting and things like that. You go to North Dakota and have all the success you had. And, going back to your other question, just as far as talking about Coach Lennon and Coach Schweigert and then having the opportunity to work with Kalen DeBoer too as well, I think, you get around some guys when you're 18 to 23 and you're like, hey, man, like, I want to be like these guys, right? Like that's why you coach is you're around people that made a huge difference in your lives. And I was really, really blessed to be able to be around some unbelievable people, during my time as a player at North Dakota.
Sure. Give people a quick history lesson for those who didn't really experience it or those who may have forgotten it. But the Dale Lennon years at UND, I mean,
really successful.
Why were they? Why?
Yeah. I think the guy just, a guy who came in the right time at the right place. Our program was on an escalator at that point, had made the playoffs, throughout the entire 90s. Coach Thomas, Roger Thomas, was kind of the one who turned it around in the early 90s. And then North Dakota was just steadily making the playoffs, getting to the semifinals, all that kind of stuff. And then Roger left to go become the AD. And then when Dale came in, I just thought we got on another escalator, at that time, and we're able to, play in a number of national championship games, really, become a power in the Division II landscape at that time and win a national championship.
I mean, you were with him for quite a while, player, and then as a coach at UND, then you went with him to Southern Illinois. What was special about him? What have you taken? What cues from him as a head coach have you taken?
Well, he was just all about the players. I think that was the thing that I took more than anything else. He had a relationship with every guy on the team, and I think every guy on the team would feel like, hey, I was his best friend. You know what I mean? Type of deal. He just was that type of guy. He was, just as good of a coach as he was, just a better man. He modeled the way of what it looks like to be a good father, to be a good husband. And just cared about people. And I think that was the thing that really impressed me more than anything else, is just how he poured into people both on and off the field and made them, the best versions of themselves.
You guys leave UND from D2 right around the time they were starting to D1 to an already established Mo Valley D1 school at Southern Illinois, and then 3-4 years into it, you meet Kalen DeBoer. Now he's coming off 5 years, 69-3, 3 national titles at USF. But yeah, of course I can't have you on without giving us some Kalen DeBoer stories and what he was like at that time, when this is his first job that's not at a Sioux Falls High School or at USF.
Well, I think Kalen grew a ton at Southern Illinois. Obviously, he had so much success at Sioux Falls, but he was around people there that he played with, he trusted. Coach Young was here, guys that kind of took Kalen underneath their wing and that he really, really trusted. Then he comes to Southern, and now it's, hey, man, these aren't anybody that I grew up with, that I played with, all that kind of stuff. So I thought he really grew. I think it doubled down for him, like, hey, what I did at Sioux Falls was really, really good. That was the one thing that I was so impressed with him from day one. That guy is a smart football coach, an offensive mind who is one of the elite offensive minds, in college football. Yeah. Just unbelievable. And then when we got back together, some years later at Fresno, just the confidence and the belief he had in who he was and what the program should look like, I thought he took a huge step that way. And same deal. The guys, he ran things so smoothly and so cleanly throughout the year that our players gained so much belief and confidence in just how the program was run. I'm not even talking about game day. I'm talking about the off season, the summer, all that kind of stuff. It was really impressive.
What was in the sauce there? What was the magic? Why was it so smooth?
Well, I think once again it comes down to the people, right? And I think that's always what's said. But when you just have people up top that are, he is high output, low ego. It's never been about him. He's always about, he walks into your office. He knows who your kids are. He knows who your wife is. He's no different now than he was probably when he was in Millbank, South Dakota. That hasn't changed him at all. And I think just that, genuineness that he has, everybody around him wants to do great for him because of how good of a person he is.
So here's a fun thing to think about. I think this is all kind of in the same time frame. I don't have the exact years here. I'm trying my best to connect dots. Both you and him left Southern Illinois. You for UND, back to UND under Bubba Schweigert, and he left for Eastern Michigan, and it was before Dale's tenure came to an end there. But he, as far as I know, applied for the UND job. Have you ever wondered or imagined or talked to him about that?
Yeah,
he would have been your boss at UND, and who knows what could have happened after that?
Yeah,
obviously he's at Alabama now.
It worked out pretty good for Kalen.
It did.
But I think you evolve through your career, and at that point in his career, UND was probably the next right stepping stone for him as far as working up to where he's at today. But
was he crushed he didn't get it?
I don't think so. I think he knew there was things that were ahead of him yet that could be really good. And I know he went when he got to Fresno and got with Coach Tedford, I think was something that really helped him too as well. So everything happens for a reason, but I think there's certain people that you meet in your life that you're like, hey, that guy's got it, right? And I think it's not anything that's some magic formula or something like that. It's just a good dude who works really, really hard, who cares about people, and I think that's you talk about the secret sauce. There is no secret sauce.
Yeah.
It's just about going to work every day and doing it in a great environment.
A lot of you guys earn your jobs partly by who you know, who you've worked with. The Tedford thing and the Fresno thing, which became the Washington and Alabama thing, was Tedford just discovered, look at what this guy's doing at Eastern. Who is this guy? Didn't know him. But 5 years after you guys were no longer on the staff together at Southern Illinois, he's calling you to join him at Fresno State. For you, what was that call like?
Yeah, there was always a relationship there. I think anytime you're on staffs, there's, like-minded people that you gravitate towards that kind of have the same philosophy that you have that, we were down there, but we both grew up in the Dakotas. I watched him play against my brother at the University of Mary, I had a relationship with Chuck Morrell, too, as well. So there was a little bit of a family kind of connection between the coaches there. And I think the other thing I think that Kalen's always done a great job of is he's surrounded himself with people that really trust him. Like I said, people that, they'll do whatever they can to help him be successful because of how good of a dude he is. So yeah, I think there was, just kind of a connection. His daughter, my son, were born in Carbondale at that time, so we were going through some life things that were also, similar to as well. And he's got a great family, his wife and his kids. So yeah, it just kind of clicked more than anything else when we were together.
And so for you, that's another level there, Mountain West Conference, FBS, and then you go to another level in the real Pac-12, all the way to a national championship game. What have you learned from a guy who started coaching in high school football in Crookston, Minnesota, to UND Division II, to FCS? Is there a common thread? What have you learned about the game at different levels? That might be the same, or this is why it's different here?
Well, I think it goes down to being in the seat that I'm in now.
Yeah.
It's about getting the right people around you. Getting the right butts in the right seats is really important, because those assistant coaches, the relationships that they build with their players, it's huge. It's critical. People ask me, hey, from year 1 to year 2, what's the difference? Well, those relationships now are so much stronger. The trust that you build, as a linebacker coach with the linebackers, or as a tight ends coach with the tight ends. I think those are the things. And it's not just, the assistant coaches. It's all the helpers and supporters that are in your building. I think just, bringing the right energy to work every single day, creating that environment where, to me, energy is effort and focus. And if we can have all of our people create that environment every single day, that's how our players are ultimately going to get better.
See, none of this is X's and O's in football, and I totally believe you. And it just sounds, it has to be so much easier said than done, because if it were that easy, just the football and the energy. But as you mentioned, it's kind of the right people.
Well, there's a lot of really good X's and O's people in football. Those guys are dime a dozen, but to find the right fit, I think, of a person who really cares, somebody who wants to, make a difference in somebody's life. That's ultimately what this is about. I think, and being an assistant coach for as long as I was, and around some really good head coaches, you get to find out, who the real guys are, in those buildings. Who's really helping kids with, with academics, who's helping them with some of the personal things that are going on with their families and with their girlfriends. Those are the guys who really develop them, and being around those guys and being in those rooms, that really helped me to be able to put a staff together of those types of people that I knew were going to help us be successful.
So is some of that, the human side, doing the right thing, being the good guys, was that partly what went into, I'll go right back into the thing that you guys got some headlines for a month or two, just an email, a contact with a junior college kid that was contacting you, and you guys self-reported, to the NCAA, and you guys got slapped on the wrist for it, and everybody's chuckling. I think you guys actually came out looking pretty good out of that whole thing. Was that part of your thinking into doing what you did, knowing you might get some attention for that? Yeah,
the coach is somebody that we talk about. He was on our staff at Southern Illinois. The guy's been in college football for 22 years, hasn't ever had a violation in his life. It's a guy who a kid trusts, calls us, hey, man, would you have some interest? Hey, I'll try to hook you up at a better place if you're not playing, that kind of stuff. So I made the analogy. I probably, I don't know. I said we're going 26 and a 25. Can we improve
That's right.
and do some things better?
One.
I'm like, and not only were we going 26 and a 25, we wrote our own ticket and we took it to the police station and said, hey, type of deal there. And everything else that's going on in college football.
Everybody's going
day,
90 on a 25.
Yeah, I'm like, you guys are going to come make this a story at our place. So I think, for me, you talk about the family aspect. I wanted that coach to know that I had his back. Hey, man, what you're doing is not what we're trying to get out of college football. You hear the stories of people calling players on. We had, guys on our team that were getting called from other places in the country. We didn't reach out. This kid reached out to a coach who had recruited him in the past and said, hey, would you help me out? And he was like, hey, man, send me your transcripts, that kind of stuff. And we move on from there. Can we get better? We'll have a growth mindset and try to get better too as well. But by no means, we're going to do this thing with integrity. We're going to do it honestly, and we're going to do it the right way.
There's two questions to come out of that. For one, was it slap on the wrist a correct depiction, or do you think it's going to hurt you a bit?
Well,
or how much?
There's some things. Obviously, not having Travis for a game. Having our coach there is something that.
And that first week of the portal.
Yeah, and that's. To us, like I said, it's the second week off of it. We'll get most of our work done. We're not a huge portal team. We want to do it through the high school, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So there's some things there that we got to be on it and do a good job, from our end of things. But ultimately, I think they're all things that, at the end of the day, it never affected, our our current players.
Yeah.
We talked to them about it, and none of those guys were, it wasn't going to affect their lives at all. And we just, recruiting-wise have, committed 2 of the classes here that are 2 of the elite classes the last 2 years. So
yes.
I think that, just that genuineness of, hey, man, we're gonna tell you exactly what happened. I got questions like this, like, hey, Coach, you want to talk about it? I'm like, yeah, I want to talk about it because I want to make sure people understand, like I said, what happened, that, hey, it's not the things that you're hearing about, throughout college football. It's something that, we can learn from and get better from, but ultimately it wasn't, anything that we're trying to get out of college football is what happened here.
Do you feel like in the relatively short amount of time that it has happened that it has felt more like it has helped your recruiting or hurt? Or neither?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. You probably know more on the outside
of
it. What you look.
I really don't. I mean, you make a headline for a day, so maybe more people are talking about UND football than they ever had in their lives. But it's like a day, so I don't know how long.
Yeah.
I don't know how long the ripples keep going. But you do talk to people. You've been on the recruiting trail trying to recruit players for future teams since. So does that get brought up?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, you want to do a good job as the leader of the program to be able to look people in the eye and say, hey, this is what happens, and then you move on from there. But yeah, I think for a 24 to 48 hour period, it was a story, and then after that, I think it's turned into more of maybe a little bit of an eye roll type of situation or something like that, and we moved on.
I know you've been warmed up pretty well with the North Dakota State question, but I'll ask you mine. It feels like all you guys are competitors, and you really will miss having that opportunity, especially at UND, to play them. At the same time, it clears everybody else's paths a little bit easier to win this league and to win the national championship. How have you processed that they're no longer there, especially from a team you had them on the ropes last year? I mean, you almost beat them.
Yeah, I think, you want to obviously ultimately our goal is to win a national championship, right? Win a Missouri Valley Football Conference championship and win a national championship. Would you, and as a competitor, you want to do it going through NDSU, right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of been the path throughout, time here since we've all gotten back together. So you want to do that. But, ultimately, I think for our players, there's so much more to play for yet. I think, just the whole narrative of, where FCS football is at, I think it's super strong after the championship game last year and, all the viewership and all that kind of stuff. Like it's a really good brand of football. And I think for us 3, Dakota schools that are left, it puts more emphasis on, there's only 2 of those games now against each other instead of 3. So they make those games, for our fan base, it's even going to be more important here, moving forward. They're gonna value those games even more now than they did in the past without North Dakota State being there.
I think I only have 2 more. One of them is 5 losses by 5 points or less. Probably a question you've been asked before as well, but that's kind of the narrative coming in. And North Dakota has been for a long time under Bubba, and last year, it's a lot of 7 and 5s in there. And last year ultra competitive with the best teams on your schedule. What is there to take it over the top?
Yeah, I just it's the details, it's the polishing of everything we're doing. I don't think you hit a panic button and all of a sudden you're changing. I think the competitiveness is something that our guys feel really, really good about. We walk onto the field in Manhattan, Kansas last year, and we stop them with 2 minutes and 4 seconds left to go, and we go get a first down, the game's over. Yeah. Type of deal. Go to Missoula, we're leading for 59 minutes. Play North Dakota State, we're leading for 57 minutes. So those are good teams, So it's not like you can be like, oh, yeah, you were there, but you didn't win. Well, we weren't playing some bottom of the barrel teams here, either. And we're still, we understand that, hey, we have areas that we need to get better, where I need to get better in. Yet, here too, moving forward. So I think it's really about, like I said, the process of how we go about our day, how we work, in the summer here, how much when we start investing in football and training camp that we get better, that we get our guys prepared, to be able to start the season fast once again. And then I think at the end of the day, like I said before, man, there's got to be a player-led element to this, and those guys got to be able to, take this thing and own it and move forward and have some confidence that they can go close out some football games.
All right. The last one should be fun. The show is called Happy Hour. Sometimes it's the first question I ask a first-time guest. This is supposed to feel like we're at the bar talking during happy hour. What drink would you prefer to have in that situation, or especially after a long day, a tough game, whatever it is? Maybe last night with all the other coaches at Parker's.
Well, I'm just, I'm going to say do simple better. There's nothing wrong with just cracking a nice cold beer at the end of the day, right?
Were you one of the ones drinking the light beer at Parker last night?
I didn't get out there. Obviously,
you didn't? Okay.
I was a late arrival here, for the weekend.
You were?
So
okay.
yeah, so I didn't get a chance to get out there with those guys. But our league, just the quality of the guys leading the programs, man, it's pretty cool. Just obviously appreciate the competition and everything that goes into it, but a lot of really, really good people that are leading programs throughout our conference.
It genuinely seems like it. What kind of beer?
Oh, boy.
Do you have a favorite? You have a go-to.
I mean, Coors Light.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all right.
It's
on tap at the Orion Pub in downtown Sioux Falls, and that's usually the domestic light I prefer, partly because it's the only one on tap.
Yeah, I'm not a beer snob.
They're all kind of the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
you drink enough beer in your life, it's kind of, you kind of circle
Dakota
back
guy,
to the ones you
Busch
started
Light's
with.
fine
of course,
too, right?
yes.
Like, hey,
it's a requirement.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't not like it, or you can't say you don't like it.
Yeah.
That'll get you. That'll hurt your recruiting. Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you. It was nice to meet you, and good luck this season.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
Eric Schmidt, head coach, UND, here on Media Day on Happy Hour.